All right. Well, good evening again, candidates. I just want to, introduce everyone up here. We have Betsy Dirks, Dom Zanger, Elizabeth Zepeda Gonzalez, Kim Hawk, Mark Starritt, and Sandy Patterson-Jamarck. We'll be moving on to our opening statements now. Every candidate will have 30 seconds to state their opening. We will start with candidate Dirks.
I was appointed to this position in October, and I've been as the county supervisor for District 1. I've been in this position now for 6 months. I ran in 2020 for this seat, and I would like to continue the work that I've already started. The county is at an exciting and critical time, and I would love to have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Dirks. We're moving on to candidate Jamarck. You will have 30 seconds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me, BenitoLink. My name is Sandy Patterson-Jamarck, and I'm running for District 1 Board of Supervisors. I was born and raised in Gilroy to the age of 14, moving to San Benito County in 1972. I'm a graduate of Hollister High, 1976. I started my law enforcement career with the Hollister PD at 14. I was a police cadet by 18, and I was a deputy sheriff coroner with San Benito County by the age of 28. That's my background. My values are God, family, country.
Thank you. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much, candidate Jamarck. We are now moving on to candidate Gonzalez. You will have 30 seconds.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zepeda Gonzalez. You can find more information on my website. I'm running as a lifelong resident of Hollister. I'm running for common sense government. I grew up in Hollister, attended local schools here, went to Monterey Bay and came back. I've seen a lot of the injustices, a lot of the decisions that have been made on our county board of supervisors, and I'm willing to, speak up for those that haven't been listened to. We have a budget that is pretty much dying. Within the next 5 years, we're going to be in struggles. So I hope to have your vote. Elizabeth Zepeda Gonzalez. Gracias.
Thank you so much, candidate Gonzalez. We will now be moving on to candidate Zanger. You will have 30 seconds.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dom Zanger, born and raised in San Benito County. I went off and got a communications degree from UC Santa Barbara. Eventually, I made my way back home to San Benito, and I saw a lot of changes that were taking place and are still taking place, and I felt compelled to get involved and steer those changes in the right direction. Specifically, I'm talking about pumping the brakes on residential growth, getting a handle on crime, and supporting our local business. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Zanger. We'll now be moving on to candidate Hawk. You will have 30 seconds.
Hi, my name is Kim Hawk. I was born and raised here in Hollister. I worked for San Benito County for 36 plus years for the following departments: HHSA, clerk, auditor, recorder, elections, clerk of the Board of Supervisors, and elections. And I am running to be a voice for the constituents in District 1.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much, candidate Hawk. We are now moving on to candidate Starrett. You will have 30 seconds.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Starrett. I grew up in Hollister, later moved to that shining city to the north there, Gilroy, where they actually have a city library. My brother and I started a construction business here in Hollister about 1973, and I've been active in this community my entire life, and I just, like a lot of folks, look back and think there's things that we can do to make this really the county we want, we loved before, and we would like to see again. And that's why I'm running for supervisor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Starrett. We will now moving on to question 1. San Benito County needs revenue, and often growth is viewed as part of the solution. What are some other ways of bringing in revenue and jobs? We will be beginning with candidate Zanger.
Yeah, well, I think there's definitely great ways to bring in revenue and jobs that doesn't involve decimating our rural areas. I think we need to find creative solutions like using more mixed residential commercial areas, follow more of a European model that's proven. I think we need to lean into tourism, ag, and innovations in ag and things like this. But there's certainly a lot we can do that doesn't involve sprawling out further into the county. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Zanger. We are now moving on to candidate talk. You have 1 minute on the clock.
We need to bring more business to this county. Business is what's going to increase our tax base and less houses. I'm not opposed to the growth for houses, but we definitely need the business here. Tourism, if there's anything that we can bring. And yeah, we just need to get businesses. We don't have to give up the rural areas. There's a lot of commercial land out there that we can bring businesses in. We've had a lot of businesses leave this county, and I don't know what the reason is, but we need to get business back.
Thank you so much, candidate Hawk. We are now moving on to candidate Dirks. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. We need to leverage our use of the economic development corporation that we've invested in as a county. And we're already seeing the results and the progress of that. We need to make sure that we're growing the existing businesses that live here, as far as providing jobs and extra jobs that we need and have as they continue to grow and expand. And we also need to make the county an easy place for businesses to come and want to be able to have a place that they can call home with San Benito County, so that we have residents here who can not only live here but work here, so that we are getting people off of our roads. Currently, 49% of our workforce leaves the county on a daily basis. And if we can make sure that we have businesses here that can provide jobs, then we're going to be able to make sure that people will be able to work here as well.
Thank you so much, candidate Dirks. We are now moving on to candidate Gonzalez. You will have 1 minute.
Yes. So bringing in revenue to our economy here locally is essential. We're actually the 5th largest economy in the world in California. Agriculture in Hollister is tremendous, and it's one of the biggest resources in terms of our economy. There's projects like Strada Verde that would bring in tech industry, where we can implement that in terms of education. Have Gavilan College. We need to have visionaries in these positions. When you don't have a vision of how to bring in revenue and you're not willing to implement those decisions, sitting there on the board is one thing, but actually making things happen and bringing in the revenue is a different story. So agriculture, our economy is growing, but if we don't make the right decisions, we don't take advantage of the opportunities we have, guess what? Within like 5 years, we will perish. So that is what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Gonzalez. You will now be moving on to candidate Starrett. You have 1 minute on the clock.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Starks. Okay. Only 5 years left. That's got me worried now. We've taken on the burden to provide housing for Silicon Valley. And I guess that's a good thing for folks. That's one of the biggest demands people have in their life, is they want to have a home, be able to provide for their family. So we've done that. We've done the provide the home part. Now we need to make it so they can stay here and work. San Benito County is a great place to live, raise your family. Let's make it a great place to work. It always remind me of people, why people go to Texas. The only good reason people go to Texas because they can get a good job, buy a home, but they got to live with that weather. We got the good weather. We can make San Benito County a wonderful place to work, and that's what we got to do. Get people off the roads, keep them in our community. Every dollar they earn in this community turns over 7 or 8 times. So it's important to have those dollars, earned here and spent here. And that will provide the prosperity we need, but we got to get a new form of revenue into this. We have to diversify our revenue, and we could do that by bringing industry in, and that's would be the best solution for our community.
Thank you so much, candidate Starrett. We will now be moving on to candidate Jamarck. You will have 1 minute on the clock.
Thank you. At one time, San Benito County was the richest county in the state of California in cattle, agriculture, and hay. We need to get back there. We need to make it feasible for the businesses that are already here in San Benito County, in Hollister, to stay. And we need to make it easier for people to live here and not have to commute. We need to bring in more industry, jobs, of course, housing, but it needs to be smart housing. It needs to be affordable housing. We've become a bedroom community for Silicon Valley. That needs to stop. We need to take care of the residents of San Benito County, the people that started San Benito County and Hollister. We need to take care of here. And that's making it easier, more affordable, and so we don't have to commute out. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Jamarck. You'll now be moving on to question 2. As supervisor, you will need to make decisions on the landfill. What is your understanding of the issue, and what course of action is the best long-term solution for the community? We will begin with candidate Starrett.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part about what was that question.
All questions are in your packet, but I will repeat it. As supervisor, you will need to make decisions on the landfill. Would you like me to repeat the second part of the question? What is your understanding of the issue, and what course of action is best long-term solution for the county in relation to the landfill?
Landfill, that was the word, sorry. It's a form of the cat chasing its tail, where we think that we bring in all this garbage from out of our county, that we're going to be, it's going to it's going to increase the revenue for us, and we'll be able to fix the roads that we ruined by bringing all these trucks in. And dumps are not a nice place to begin with. You know, there's a lot of potential for leakage into the soil and into the water system and things like that. So I think the solution I see is we have to take over our landfill and run it ourselves and keep it a community landfill. We would be ahead of the game down the road. It's obviously a moneymaker, but we're going to be threatened the fact that if we don't go along with the proposal of.
All right. Thank you so much, candidate Starrett. We'll now be moving on to candidate Hawk. You'll have 1 minute.
Okay, I was able to go to the landfill and took a tour of the landfill, and I agree we do need to expand. And as far as the out of county garbage, it does make the county revenue, and that is about the only big revenue making business that we have in this county right now. But as of April 1st, there's no more out of county garbage. So now we're on our own, and the landfill is only good for about another 15 years. And then if we don't expand it, they'll have to close it down, and our garbage will have to go somewhere else, like Marina. And I don't think that we want to be driving over there. So if you notice, there's all kinds of trucks still on the road. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, candidate Hawk. We're moving to candidate Jamarck. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, the landfill does need expansion, but I think we can do better at the recycling with the homes, separation, your plastics, take them in, make sure that it's separated out at the dump. It's a process out there. Yeah, it does need to be expanded. I live right on Fairview Road, and I've been listening to the trucks for the past 6 years. And the roads are horrible. Yeah, even where they paved out is already got bumps in it. So, because you can't put that much tonnage on a roadway and not expect damage. But we need to do better at recycling, do better in the community with the recycling, like they do in Gilroy. There's separation. With the trucks that come in, all the recycling goes into one truck. I know it'd probably be an expense, but if we've only got 15 years, we have to reevaluate and reorganize. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Jamarck. We'll now be moving on to candidate Dirks. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. And I'm excited to talk trash right now. I didn't know how much I would actually learn about trash in the last 6 months than what I've learned. And the way that I've approached this process as a sitting supervisor is I'm listening to the residents. In fact, the first thing that I did was attend a Don't Dump on San Benito. You all have seen the signs on Fairview, so that I could hear where they were coming from. And this is before I talked to anyone about what was happening with the landfill and what we were looking at. Once I got that information, I did take a tour of the landfill, and I have continued to offer tours with Waste Solutions in conjunction with them throughout the month of March, so that residents can come and learn and ask questions for themselves, because community involvement and engagement is my #1 priority. And providing transparency on big issues like this is what really matters. And that's what I'm doing as a leader already regarding the landfill.
Thank you so much, candidate Dirks. We'll be moving to candidate Gonzalez. You have 1 minute.
The landfill is about 15 years or so in decaying. And based on some of the environmental studies research I did at CSUMB, we were actually more close to 7 to 8 years based on the growth of population. That is something that the Board of Supervisors is not taking into account at the moment. And many of us don't know that. Transparency is key. The County Board of Supervisors had a meeting today, and you could see some of the projections. The landfill is something that we need to work with, but we also need to take into account our community's voice. We need to make sure that if there's an expansion, there needs to be some form of regulation and community input. Transparency is what I look for. And not only that, bringing expertise that know how to expand in an ecologically friendly way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Gonzalez. We'll now be moving on to candidate Zanger. You will have 1 minute to answer this question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm happy to talk about this. So right now, around 80% of the trash is from out of county. I see a problem with that. I'd like that to stop. The revenue that it brings in is negligible when factored in with the total cost analysis, when you factor in the road damage that these multi-ton trucks are doing, not to mention the environmental impact that an expansion of the landfill could have. It just doesn't seem to make sense. The numbers aren't there. It doesn't make sense. So what I'd like to do is not accept out of county trash in the future. And beyond that, it just doesn't make sense for San Benito County to expand the dump, 3 to 5 times what it is now and become Silicon Valley's trash can. So for those reasons, I just think it makes sense to restrict out of county garbage in favor, in the sake of our county. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Zanger. We will now be moving on to question 3. There have been complaints of no community input on large projects like the Amazon fulfillment facility. How can the public be better informed about projects that affect the quality of life in San Benito County? We will begin with candidate Gonzalez.
Transparency when there's projects going on. We need to know, we need to meet with our county employees and know what's truly going on. The board makes a decision, but it doesn't mean that that's being implemented. When it comes to negotiations, our community needs to be aware and be at the forefront of what is truly going on behind closed doors. It amazes me that we have a road that has not been fixed when we recently just implemented Amazon. It is ridiculous, and it is something that we as a community need to address when it comes to infrastructure. If you're going to build projects here in San Benito County, you also need to address infrastructure, and that is something that has not been done in the past.
Thank you so much, candidate Gonzalez. We will now be moving on to candidate Jamarck. You will have 1 minute.
You said Mark.
Jamarck?
Mark.
Okay.
Candidate Jamarck.
All right, Mark. Trying to steal my.
I have a hard time with women's voices. I don't know if that's intentional or not. I apologize.
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So anyhow, thank you so much. Did we start my clock?
Yes,
over
we're going to start your
again?
clock over.
Somebody's trying to steal mine. There needs to be, the residents of San Benito County need to be heard on anything that's built in the county. We need to know. It needs to be put out there. There needs to be notices. There needs to be flyers. I know that's an expense, but the residents of San Benito County need to know what's going on in the county. Yes, we always talk about transparency, but it hasn't happened. We need to get the message out to the people. Social media, letters, flyers, whatever it takes, because Amazon comes in and Highway 25 still hasn't been broached. Of course, the problem is we have the Caltrans Santa Clara district. We have District 5 down here. We can go, but the problem is getting the interchange from 25, from 101 to 25. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Jamarck. Now we will have candidate Starrett.
There we go.
Starrett. How do you pronounce your name?
Starrett.
Starrett. Okay.
We'll talk about landfill. Just a quick point on that is, eminent domain has been invented, and it isn't a big deal. It's going to sound like it's going to be a big deal that we can't do this, can't do that. We do need to expand that landfill, and we expand it for ourselves, all right? So instead of expanding it, say, 10 acres or 100 acres, we can expand it the size we need and for our community. Enough on that. Amazon kind of snuck up on most of us. I'm for anything that brings jobs to the community, but I don't know if this brought the best jobs to the community. They're kind of low-paying jobs, but they're jobs, all right? But it was a behind the curtain. All of a sudden, here we got Amazon, and it shouldn't happen that way. And there's also another project that's behind the curtain, getting ready to land here real soon, and that's a furniture distribution center. These types of businesses, they do bring jobs, thankfully, but they also bring the other side of it is the transportation, community, transporting across our roads, and they're probably not the best fit, and the community should be involved in knowing what's coming. And in these cases, they were not.
Thank you so much for your answer, candidate Starrett. You're now moving on to candidate Zanger. You will have 1 minute.
Yeah, a lot of folks out there were upset with the Amazon situation, and I was one of them, because it did feel like it kind of just, like Mark just said, just kind of showed up, kind of came out from nowhere. And so I'd like to echo what was said earlier. I think it's worth the expense to notify the public about things like this. And two, I think it's elected officials' responsibility to publicly hold those accountable for things like this, hold those accountable that maybe ought to be giving the word out, ought to be more transparent and aren't being transparent. It's our job to publicly get out there and demand answers for that kind of thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer, candidate Zanger. We're now moving on to candidate Hawks. You will have 1 minute.
As far as the public being better informed, I think they are informed. There's city council meetings, there's board of supervisors meetings that are all online that you can listen to if you can't make the meetings. Social media is out there. There's signs posted on the property, on the proposed project. You can look at that. As far as roads for those, whenever these agreements are approved, they need to not defer road improvements and make these people make the roads better. You know, they can't keep deferring road improvements if for a later date, because that never happens. That's what has happened now. That's why Fairview Road has never been repaired.
All right, thank you so much, candidate Hawks. We will now be moving on to candidate Dirks. You will have 1 minute.
Community engagement is my number one goal in the tenure where I'm in this term, and I'm committed to that. I've done that through the landfill in coordinating the tours. I've coordinated over 7 tours with Waste Solutions so that people can come and do that. I talked about that earlier. But really, we need to be committed as a county to making sure that when public projects are coming up, that people are aware of them and understand the facts and have accurate information so they can make the decision that they think regarding the project so they can have a voice for that. And one of the things that we're doing currently is we're hiring a county PIO, public information officer, so that we can make sure that we have that transparency and that we can work on that with our constituents and with the residents of San Benito County. And it is something that I'm very committed to as well. So I think we just need to continue to have community education. And I believe that we're all committed to that as the current Board of Supervisors.
Thank you so much, candidate Dirks. We are now moving on to closing statements. Each candidate will have 45 seconds to make their closing statement. We will begin with candidate Starrett.
There's, our roads are a mess, crime's on the rise, and the homeless have found a new home. There's no shortage of problems that we need to deal with in our community. But a big part of what's going to help us solve these problems is a diversified revenue stream. And that's, as we just discussed before, that's going to be bringing industry into this community. And I think industry will want to come into this community because it's a great community to be in, and we have the workers here. In my line of work, I've spent nearly 50 years where I've been involved with multi-million-dollar budgets. And the difference between me being involved with a budget and government being involved with a budget is I have accountability. I have to make it work. I have to maintain time schedules. I have to make things happen. And that's what I bring to the table with my 50 years of experience. I'd like to have that opportunity to show you what I can do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Starrett. We will now be moving on to candidate Jamarck. You have 45 seconds.
Yes, again, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I'm concerned about San Benito County. That's why I decided to run, is because we have a lot of issues. The infrastructure, our roadway maintenance, our agricultural foundation, water resources. We've got blue valves shut off in District 1, and the water's going to Stonegate and Ridgemark, where we've had people are having to bucket water to their animals, and that's not right. That needs to be taken care of. Also, the issues of law enforcement. We need to support our law enforcement. We need to back them. I worked for San Benito County. I was their token female when I was hired back in 1985. I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to step in and take care of San Benito County. And that's my mission. That was my decision to run, is because there hasn't been transparency. There's been a waste of money. We need to take care of the residents.
Thank you so much, candidate Jamarck, for your answer. We will now be moving on to candidate Zanger. You'll have 45 seconds.
All right, thanks to all the other candidates for participating. This has been fun. Look, with me, what you hear is what you get. I want to make it my mission, if elected, to be as transparent and forthright and honest and clear as I can be. That's part of the reason I'm not taking any money from developers for my campaign. And this isn't the start of a political career for me or anything like that. I'm not a politician. I'm a real human being, and I just want to help San Benito County. If elected, that's what I intend to do. I have a plan. I have an execution strategy. And most of all, I just want to improve the lives of the residents in my district. So with that, I encourage you all to vote Dom Zanger. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Zanger. We will now moving on to candidate Hawk. You will have 45 seconds to answer the question.
Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I hope if I'm elected, I will bring my experience working with the county and the various departments and to better serve the constituents. And I hope to make my uncle proud as he served as on the Board of Supervisors for 24 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidate Hawk, for your answer. We will now be moving on to candidate Dirks. You will have 45 seconds.
No doubt we're facing issues, but together we can find solutions that improve the quality of life for all of our residents. I'm here to serve. I want everyone to have a seat at the table. I want everyone to have an opportunity to have a voice. I want the residents of this county to feel heard, and communication builds trust, and that's where we need to start. I've already started to build these bridges, and I'm anxious and I'm excited about the possibilities of what San Benito County can offer to all that live here. I want San Benito County to be a place where my children want to raise their children. And if you want to be a part of this process and a part of this vision, I encourage you to vote for me, Betsy Dirks, on June 7th, because we're all in this together and I can't do this alone.
Thank you so much, candidate Dirks, for your answer. We will now moving on to candidate Gonzalez. You will have 45 seconds to answer your question.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, BenitoLink, for having this forum. And District 1 is very fortunate. You have 5 candidates. You have folks to choose from. I think many of us are fed up, especially in District 1 and throughout the county. There's a lot of issues, decaying roads. I grew up in McCoskey. That road has never been fixed. And there's a lot to work on. I'm willing to be open to having conversation. I am very transparent. What you hear is pretty much what you get. And I am a very hard worker. So I'm really committed to my community. I lived in Hollister. I grew up in Hollister. And I hope that in the future, my family continues to flourish in this community. I don't know any other community as beautiful as San Benito County. Thank you. Vote Elizabeth Zepeda Gonzalez. Gracias.
Thank you so much, candidate Gonzalez, for your answers. And thank you all candidates for your answers to our Q&A session for the supervisor for District 1.